Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a really important topic that could affect millions of people in the UK who financed a car in the past. We're talking about the potential for a major redress scheme for motor finance and what it might look like. The media is reporting on this, and it's all connected to how car finance companies used to calculate commissions. The financial regulator, the FCA, is currently looking very closely at this, and has been for some time. So what's the issue? Well, it revolves around something called discretionary commission arrangements, or DCAs. In the past, some car finance firms allowed dealers to adjust the interest rates they offered customers, and the dealer would often get a bigger commission if the customer paid a higher interest rate. The FCA is concerned that this system may have led to some customers paying more than they should have, and that these commissions weren't always properly disclosed. This all came to a head with a recent Court of Appeal ruling, which suggested there could be widespread liability for these motor finance firms. Now, this ruling is being appealed to the Supreme Court, and the FCA has actually intervened as well. Importantly, the FCA has stated that if they conclude that motor finance customers have lost out from widespread failings, taking into account the Supreme Court's decision, then it is likely they will consult on an industry-wide redress scheme. This means that if the FCA finds significant issues, they could set up a system for compensating affected customers. This might sound familiar to some of you, and that's because the UK has been through a massive financial mis-selling scandal before, which was payment protection insurance, or PPI. PPI was an insurance sold alongside loans and credit agreements meant to cover repayments if you became ill or unemployed. But millions of policies were missold, meaning customers were often unaware they had it. It was unsuitable for their needs, or they were misled about its terms. The scale of PPI mis-selling was huge, with around 64 million policies sold. This led to a significant financial loss for consumers. The then regulator, the FSA, and later the FCA, had to step in. The regulatory response to PPI was multifaceted. The FSA started focusing on it in 2005, conducted reviews, and even banned single premium PPI in 2009. In 2010, they issued Policy Statement 10/12, which provided detailed guidance on how firms should handle and assess PPI complaints and offer redress. This included how to deal with evidence and their obligations to potentially affected customers. The main way consumers got redress for PPI was through a complaints-led approach. People had to complain to the firms that sold them PPI. If they weren't happy with the firm's response, they could then take their case to the Financial Ombudsman Service, the FOS, which acted as an independent assessor. The FOS played a critical role in resolving the disputes, but they did face a large backlog, which meant that things dragged on for years and years. Drawing on this experience with PPI and the FCA's current statements, we can start to forecast how a potential motor finance redress scheme might be set up. It's important to remember this is a forecast and things could change. There's many moving parts here. Firstly, the Supreme Court's decision will be a major trigger. The FCA is waiting for the outcome of this before making any final decisions about a widespread redress scheme. If the FCA does decide to go ahead, they will likely consult on the design of the scheme, involving car finance firms, consumer groups, and other experts. Similar to PPI, it's probable that the scheme will initially be driven by consumer complaints to the motor finance companies. So if you believe you were charged unfairly due to a discretionary commission, you would likely need to complain to them first. And just like with PPI, if you're not satisfied with their response, you're likely to be able to escalate your complaint to the Financial Ombudsman Service. The FCA is likely to set the rules that firms must follow when reviewing complaints and calculating any compensation owed. There'll be other videos made about this because there's a fair degree of speculation as to what and how the redress will be calculated. We saw this with PPI, where the FCA provided detailed guidance. They will also likely put checks in place to make sure firms are following the rules fairly. Learning from the challenges with PPI, the FCA might also consider requiring firms to proactively contact customers who are most likely to have been affected, especially if the Supreme Court ruling confirms widespread issues, which is highly likely given further speculation that this mis-selling could well widen to other products. So not just vehicles, i.e. boats, home improvements, anything taken on finance where there may have been a DCA. They might also aim to provide clearer guidance to consumers on how to claim directly, to try and reduce the need for claims management companies who take a cut of any compensation. This is an ongoing thing. As with all mis-selling, you've got one side of claims management companies who are there representing the interests of consumers, and on the other side you've got the regulator and firms that want to try and deal with the impacts fairly, but not be bombarded with maybe complaints that haven't got any grounds. A fee has been introduced for claims management companies to pay if referring complaints to the Financial Ombudsman Service. I think they have to pay £250 or so. So this then acts as a bit of a barrier, or if you looked at it differently, it means a claims management company or legal firm representing someone will have to make sure that, or will want to ensure that there's merits to the complaint. Otherwise, they could end up being out of pocket. While it's early days, the possibility of a motor finance redress scheme is very real. If you financed a car in the past, it's a good idea to stay informed about the FCA's review and the Supreme Court's decision. We'll be sure to keep you updated here on this channel as information becomes available. And if you found any of this information helpful, or if you have any questions, put them in the comments below. And remember to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Thank you.